Good evening, great souls. Welcome to our celebration of the anniversary of Swami Kriyananda's Moksha. And we'll have a Kirtan and share some stories. But let's begin first now with a prayer together. Pray silently with me. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, beloved friend, God, great masters of self-realization, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Guru Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, all saints and sages, and our dear beloved Swamiji, we humbly bow at thy feet. We invoke your presence, the grace that flowed through your life. Guide us to oneness with the divine. We are your children and instruments. Free us in thy light. Om, peace. Amen. So I'll just speak very briefly by way of introduction here. This is the 10th anniversary of the passing from this world of Swami Kriyananda, who we both had the blessing of being very close to in a human way, and we just would like to share a little bit of perspective. Typically in a evening like this, we would share reminiscences of Swamiji, but I also want to just orient this a little bit in a different direction, which is that the evening of this anniversary is, to my mind, an opportunity to appreciate the legacy that Swamiji left to the world and to us as his students and disciples, or spiritual sort of heirs, you might say. And so I'll talk a little bit later on. Nirmala will talk also before me. But we just want to share thoughts and observances and impressions. This is not designed to be a sad evening of sorrow. Obviously, Swamiji's departure was very challenging. It was extremely difficult. It was a very difficult period of time in our lives. But that's not something to dwell on. The blessing of his life is much more relevant and joyful to tune into, and that's the legacy that he left us and that he left the world. And so that's really what we want to focus on. But this evening we'll begin with a song that has gradually over the years become a part of the astral ascension ceremony. Life is a dream, and the words are appropriate in that way to Swamiji's life, because in a sense his life now is a dream, but yet the gift of that is still operative very powerfully in the world. So anyway, we'll sing this song for you, and then we'll sing some chants and then talk a little bit. Life is a dream, time like a stream. can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Life is a dream time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere. Love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be free. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions define. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star that's shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Love is a star that's shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. So now we'll do one of Yogananda's chants, which was a favorite of Swami's because it's to the Divine Mother, and he especially revered God as the Divine Mother. Hang on a second.
And grows stems that be on my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. And grows stems that be on my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Divine Mother, my divine mother. Let's have a moment of silence after these chants, just to draw the chant more deeply into our hearts. And now I'll just say a few words about Swamiji. And recently I had this beautiful photograph of Swamiji at the Kumbh Mela in the late 50s, early 60s. And I wanted to share that with you. I love this picture because he's so young. He's in his early 30s, and he has not yet had the breakup with Self-Realization Fellowship, and so that pain does not show up in his face or in his aura as it did in later years. And I love the full energy of, I'll just hold that photo again so you can see it. I love the full dynamic power in his form. He's so focused on Master's work, being a channel for that energy and giving his full strength to Master's mission. Thank you, Dharmadas. And that dedication and power never wavered through all the rest of the years of his life. He was totally dedicated, always thinking of Yogananda and how to further this mission on earth that Master started. And he, in later years, I remember Jyotish asked him, at the time we were doing sort of a community-wide prayer or concentrating on a quality each year. And so it was getting ready for a new year, and Jyotish asked Swami, would you like to come up with a prayer that we could all say during the year, sort of uniting us in that energy? And Swami's answer was, well, it's been so long since I've prayed with words. And on another occasion, he would tell us it's important to think as we're trying to figure out something or coming up against a problem in our lives or trying to figure out a solution for something. Swami would say it's important to consider and ask ourselves, what would Master do? What would Yogananda do in this situation? And so that was always what he was thinking. What would Yogananda say? How would he treat this person? What action would he take in this circumstance? And that's how he lived his life. So it's important for us to take that advice to heart and do the same thing. And in that way, fill our consciousness, fill our minds and our hearts with the thought of Yogananda. Swami would say, when you're meditating, visualize Yogananda at the point between the eyebrows, or visualize him seated in your heart, meditating through your body. And in that way, to become more and more in tune. Swami was very adamant about the importance of attunement with the Guru. And being in tune with him as a channel of the Guru. That's one of the reasons why I made this beautiful photograph of Swamiji. I was inspired, since I worked with Swami for so many years on his photographs, with the technology that we have today, to start making some prints of his photographs, because he would say that they convey his consciousness just as his music conveys his consciousness. He would often say of the music, if you want to know who I am, listen to my music. If you want to become in tune with that, sing my music. It's a marvelous way of feeling Swami's vibration. Dharmadas and I have been singing this music for decades. And in times of stress and trouble, inevitably the answer will come through a phrase of one of his songs. It's marvelous how his music can help uplift our consciousness. And so when I worked with Swamiji in his photographs, in his photography, he made many, many slideshows and took many thousands of pictures. It was truly a way that he expressed art through that medium. And I guess it was 1992, 94, he asked us, Dharmadas and me, to move back from Seattle to Ananda Village so that he could start a publishing company and a design company for his book, specifically using his photographs for cover art and art for the Secrets books and all of that. And at the time, he wanted to share his photographs in a way that people could hang them on their wall and have them at home as prints. But it was so expensive to get them made and framed. And now with the technology that we have, it's much easier. So anyway, his books especially are the way to feel his vibration too. His consciousness is so deep in his books. So these are all ways, his music, his photographs, his books, they're all ways that he is still very much with us and very much alive. He would tell the story of a man who had read Autobiography of a Yogi, and he was so deeply moved by it that he wanted to come and become a monk in Master's organization. So he wrote to the organization and was devastated to receive a letter back saying, "I'm sorry to inform you, but Yogananda has left his body." And so this man, very discouraged, went to India to find a guru, because he didn't think, you could have a guru who wasn't in the body. And so he went to one of the masters in India, and he said, "I want to be your disciple." And this master said, "Well, you're already Yogananda's disciple." And the man said, "Yes, but he's not in his body, he's dead." And the guru said, "You're the one that's dead. He's very much alive." So we have to remember that this life is a dream, which we need to wake up from. Our consciousness needs to awaken. And then we will realize that Yogananda is right here with us all the time. He never leaves us. And so let's use the legacy that Swami Kriyananda has given us in all these various ways, books, music, photography, communities, and all the people that knew him and loved him and are trying to channel him. He's very much alive in this world today. And now I will be the camera person. And
Okay. Or
do you want to do more music?
we'll just do one chant, and then
Okay.
then we can. I'll talk a little too. So we'll sing "I Want Only Thee." This is a chant of Swamiji's, and very simple words. I want only thee, thee only thee.
I want
So I also will share a few little thoughts about Swamiji and his legacy. And the first thing that comes to my mind, and I'll just say it first by way of not forgetting it in the intensity of remembering lots of remembrances of Swamiji, is that you are his legacy. On and on, this incredible creative output, more important than any of it is you, because in some way the blessing of his life has touched yours, or you wouldn't be watching this tonight. And each one of us thereby, in a sense, has a responsibility. It's not an onerous responsibility. It's a blessing. It's a blessed responsibility, you can say, because we have the blessing of the responsibility of sharing the blessing that we've been given. And Swamiji, I remember one of the first things that Swamiji wrote in the Path was that basically from birth, he had wanted to share joy with people and wanted for people to feel that the joy that he himself experienced. And it's not that his life was always outwardly happy. I mean, his childhood and family in many ways were blessed. His parents were very harmonious. I mean, he never saw them fight. They just had a lovely relationship, a little bit on the worldly side, but then for health reasons and karmic reasons, he was away from that family for several years. As a fairly young child, at the age of 9, he had to go to Switzerland to a boarding school for his health, and then later was in England, again in a boarding school. So he was away from the family during some very formative years, and those were challenging years. And then he came back to America, and everywhere he went, he was a foreigner. Even coming back to America as an American, born to American parents, yet he now carried an English accent, and people thought that sounded weird. And of course, anything as a teenager, anything that's different, oh my God, what a, horror. But so outwardly, his life had challenges along the trail, but yet he wanted to share joy. And so he finds Autobiography of a Yogi and reads it and basically gets on the next bus heading west to California. And he had 2 desires on that bus ride. 4 days, 4 nights it took him to get across the country. He said, obviously, I wanted to find God. I wanted to meet the guru who would enlighten me or, help me to find God. Second desire is I want to share these teachings with everyone. And he hasn't even met Yogananda at this point. And he has that desire and that strong impetus, strong force moving through him. And that, in many ways, is what it's sort of inappropriate to use the word distinguishes him, because we think of distinguishing from, and it's, you don't compare disciples of a guru. That's not the relevant issue. But Yogananda, Master saw in him something special, and that was he was as Nirmala was speaking, he was completely dedicated to sharing Yogananda's work. We have a dear friend who is a very accomplished astrologer in the Vedic tradition and a deep Kriyaban as well. We've had numerous readings with him over the years, and he's very insightful and extremely intuitive. But he said something about Swamiji that struck me, and it's always stayed with me. He said one of the things that's very unusual about Swamiji, he said many saints and masters in this world are what we could sort of describe as Shiva avatars or Shiva masters. In other words, their energy is bent in the direction of, or oriented in the direction of, this world is a dream, it's a maya, it's a delusion. Destroy that delusion and get out of it. Get out of this illusion. Okay, that's totally valid. It's a totally relevant message, totally helpful. Swamiji had a different path, and this astrologer described Swamiji's mission as he's a Brahma saint. His energy is a creative one. And here we are coming into a new age, the Dwapara Yuga, and now you have and it's very unusual to have a Brahma saint. In India also, you just don't find it. Brahma sort of has a bad reputation. And Swamiji, because it's like, no, get away from the ocean of suffering and misery. Don't start creating new stuff. But if that's what your mission is, and that's what Master gave him to do, he said, write, edit, teach. Oh, but Master, hasn't everything that's needed been written by you? No, much more is needed. I mean, Swamiji said, Master looked shocked when he asked that question. No, much more is needed. Well, Swamiji provided some of that much more, and quite a lot of that much more, in fact. But that creativity for him was a path to freedom, not a path to further entanglement. And that's why he could be so, I could almost use the word cavalier about his own accomplishments. Yes, he wrote 150 books. He wrote 400 pieces of music or whatever it is, hundreds, many hundreds. Founded all these communities, took all these photos, wrote plays. I mean, just the creative output just went on and on and on. And yet, for Swamiji, every single day was a new day, and it's as if he had done nothing until that day. And just everything that was before that, in a sense, was irrelevant to him. And yet he loved every book, he loved every song. Every book was going to be the bestseller, the one that would finally launch the work, that people would finally come to know him by, or come to know Master by. And he never lost that. He was eternally optimistic. He was eternally positive and pushing the work out forward into the world. And for others, that would be a way of getting entangled in more karma. For Swamiji, because he simply released every single day that went by into the past and was entirely focused on today, what can I do today, what should I do today, there was no entanglement in it. So it's an amazing example for all of us. But I think to me the most important thing today is to just simply say, thank you, Swamiji, for the incalculable gift that you gave us, the example that is intimidating in many ways to follow, and yet just simply, I'm channeling what I think he would want me to say in this regard. Don't be intimidated by his example, just be encouraged and inspired by it. Enjoy whatever role you have to play in this drama, whatever blessing you can share. And so I'll rewind to what I was saying at the beginning, which is we've all been blessed. We wouldn't be watching this, we wouldn't be part of this evening, we wouldn't be part of Swamiji's life and legacy if we weren't touched in some way by some blessing. And that blessing we have the responsibility to share with others. Now, does it mean we all have to turn into teachers of meditation or whatever? No, it doesn't. But if you felt joy, if you felt peace, if you felt love, if you felt inspiration, if you felt anything positive in your life from his legacy, try to help someone else feel the same way. try to help someone else have that kind of experience in their life by whatever means they can do. Not everybody's ready for meditation, but everybody's ready for joy. Everybody's ready for love and peace. Find some way to touch people with that experience through your heart, through your creativity, through whatever means, and that blessing will increase. Excuse me. Swamiji had this incredible sense of humor and sweetness. You know, we were close to him. His departure was devastating to us. I mean, I won't sugarcoat it. It was extremely challenging. But in another way, he became free of the body, which was a terrible burden to him. He was 87 years old, and, you know, I remember a dear friend in India used to say to him, "Swamiji, you should live to be 100. And Swamiji would say, "Don't curse me. This body won't hold up that long, and I've suffered, and I'm happy to serve Master as long as I can." And he literally served Master right to the last hour, like right into the last minutes of his life. He was writing an email, he was responding to an email. I mean, he gave everything he had and everything he could give to us and to the world. And it's just our joy and our blessing to be able to share more of that, to more and better, as much as we can do in this world. So we'll sing a couple more chants now. So we'll sing a chant that Swamiji wrote for another funeral, as it happened, or for a woman who passed away at Ananda many, many years ago. And the chant is called Rest in God. Rest in God, live in God, in His joy, in His light, and in His love. Sorry, this thing keeps goofing up. Rest in God, live in God, in His joy, in His God, live in God, in His joy, in His Rest in God, live in God, in His joy. We'll sing another of Master's chants. This is Thou art my life, and Thou art my love, Thou art the sweetness which I do seek. And this chant captures in a certain way the life of the devotee, which is a life that we saw so beautifully demonstrated by Swamiji. And there is such sweetness in what he gave us and the example that he was and is. So let's sing this. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. In the thought by my love gone, in the thought by my love gone, I taste thy name. So sweet, Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach my heart to impart every way your dear light. Sing of moon rays on the rain, sing that love's not in vain. Every grief, every wrong has its ending in song. Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach all men how to spin clouds of gloom into light. Without silence, what is song? Without night, where is dawn? Every were it not for men's woes, who would smile at our own? Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Let each tone silence groan, earth and heaven unite. Morning laughter, evening tears, snow and blossoms all fade. Joy must sing in the night to face change unafraid. Nightingale, nightingale, nightingale. Swamiji wrote this amazing music in part just because he wanted to be able to share with people what he had learned from Master, but he wanted to share in a way that people didn't sort of have to scratch their heads and try to figure out what he was driving at. I remember he talking about lecturing in one country where people would, he'd spend half his time sort of convincing people that he wasn't a fraud, and the other half of the time convincing them that maybe he actually had something useful to say, and by the end he felt like he had sort of arrived at zero, and it was a little frustrating for him. And with the music, what would happen is that people would feel the message in their hearts. It's like it would bypass all the mental confusion and suspicion and cynicism that people have, and just touch their hearts and uplift them. And I know for me, my arrival at Ananda and my sort of understanding that this was the path I was to follow was conveyed to me very definitely the very first Sunday service that I went to, and it was the song being sung was "Walk Like a Man." Even though you walk alone, why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the goal still awaits you. Go on alone. And I felt like at that moment in my life, at the age of 19, I was going on alone. I mean, I was going on alone to a community full of people, but the life that I had left behind was directed in that way, going on alone towards the truth. And Swamiji's music had that power to help people feel and understand, is this my own? Is this for me? And it's just been an incredible gift to be able to share it with people. And it's an honor and a privilege. All around the world, we've sung in Russia, we've sung in India, we've sung in Singapore, we've sung all over the place. And I wondered in India, I mean, guitars, especially acoustic guitars, or any kind of guitar really, is a little bit unusual. And yet people loved it. And they were very open. In fact, being in India with Swamiji helped us as Westerners to appreciate Indians could get him instantly. Westerners couldn't always figure out where was he coming from. He speaks a little differently. His message was unexpected and deep, maybe a little too deep. Indians could get him instantly. He would just walk into a room and they would get, okay, this guy's for real. There's something really deep here. And it helped us. It kind of, opened the eyes. It's like, okay, I think we should take this guy seriously too. But I'll just close. Now that I've talked about that song, I can't not sing it, or at least sing a couple verses of it. But walk like a man, even though you walk alone, like court approval, once the road is known. Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the ghost still awaits you. Follow your dream, though it lead to worlds unknown. Life's but a shadow, once our dreams have flown. What if men cry, your dream is not our own? Your soul knows the answer. Live life, your heart, bless everything that's grown. Fear not the valley, all this world's your own. Make rich the soul, but once the seed is sown, seek freedom, don't linger. Go on alone. Go on alone. Go on alone. So, dear ones, I think we'll close now. Do you want to say anything, or?
Just want to reiterate that Swami's energy was a carrier wave for Yogananda's energy. And so in that way, we are still connected, and the more that we can tune in and have our lives be in attunement with Yogananda's consciousness and Swami Kriyananda's consciousness, the happier we will be and the closer to God. So let's take advantage of the legacy that these great souls have left for us, to tune in and to meditate more deeply, to feel their presence, and to be their channels and instruments for that love and blessing to everyone we meet. God bless you.
God bless you all, dear ones. We'll zoom in on Swamiji's photo here just by way of closing.